So I started recording this episode thinking that I'm gonna be moving around the lumber business, thinking that, you know what, I'll redo the zoo a little bit, make it grow a little bit more, because it is a small zoo, and we unlocked so many more things. And I started with the lumber business. I was like, you know what, this is gonna take a little bit of time. And I started with redoing the terrain a little bit to make it a little bit more flat, just to make it a little bit easier, because building on this hill had proved to be quite a nuisance. I had a little bit of trouble fitting that intersection in, so I had to move a few things here and there, destroying a couple of roads, moving that railway away, destroying some of it, just to make my life a little bit easier. I know. I just did it last episode and here I am destroying it already. Not ideal, but it is what it is at this point. I'm gonna make it look a little bit better, hopefully. And as per usual, just trying to make sure that the roundabout is going to be staying about the same, and extending the highway to the roundabout so my guys have an easier time to move in. And then I did something a little bit dumb. I tried to make the incline be somewhat reasonable, and that's where I ran into a bunch of trouble. Just trying to make sure that everything is looking good, everything is at a nice incline. That proved to be a whole lot of work. And then I started planning around where I'm going to be putting my timber business. Basically, it's just going to be a huge business of timber. I've decided that I'm not going to have like two of them like I initially planned, with one being a little bit smaller in its previous location, and then one big one, a 5-star out here. Because I realized that, hey, space is limited. I do not really have that much space to have two timber businesses in this one city, because I need some place to actually put my residential. And so that place where we used to have our timber business, so we're going to be redoing that for our residential at some later point. I'm not really sure when we're going to get the time for it. And as you can see, it does take a while because, as I said, this is a very hilly area and was not that great. Trying to work around, making sure that everything is looking good. Right about this point, I was thinking, why did I even decide to be using this? It was looking okay to me as it was, but you know what? I decided I'm not a quitter. I'm gonna continue on. I'm gonna make sure that this looks okay. And so I continued on, being very persistent for no good reason, but there I was. But at this time, I started giving up a little bit as well. I was like, you know what? If it's less than 10%, I say it's okay. Because there was like no way, absolutely no way to make it look good. And then I decided to start moving things around back to their original places. I knew I had to redo this a little bit because the incline here is always going to be pretty awful. But I decided, you know what, 5%, that's a little too much. Let's redo this a little bit more, making sure that we have a bigger circular thing going around, which did help out a little bit. As you can see, it's now down to 4.3%, which is not bad. This is where the trouble began. I started getting this error occurred message here, which threw the game into a disarray. I started getting all of these unlocks, as you can see. The business, timber business got upgraded. Also, the zoo, I believe, got upgraded as well. And the game just bugged out. My city got unlocked all the way to the 38,000 population milestone for whatever reason. It was just chaotic. And then it took me a while to find a solution to this. The solution being that, well, I exited the game first of all, and went online, looked around a little bit just to find myself a solution. And what I found, people were saying that I need to unsubscribe from the traffic manager, TMPE, and then to subscribe back to it. And I did that, and it seemed to have solved the problem. However, in solving that problem, it still left me in a very uncomfortable position because I unlocked so many things. I kind of felt like it was a little bit of cheating with so many things unlocked now for no apparent reason. I did not actually gain access to any of that through actual gameplay, so I had to go back, load back where I left off from my previous episode and start over. However, I decided that, you know what, I've had enough playing around with the highway, so what I decided to do was just go ahead and level everything that I see in the immediate vicinity. It is a little bit annoying to do so, but at this point I was already tired. I was like, you know what, I don't have the patience to be doing this again. And I realized, hey, if I just level everything, there's not going to be that much leveling after that. Just got to connect everything, make sure that the incline is doing okay from these other areas, like you saw right there a little bit. From the entrance into the city, just make sure that that looks okay. And I was like, 4%, that's fine. Then I had another Heli Area out here, as you can see. Had to play around with that, but actually it wasn't too bad. As you can see, we managed to get it down to 3%. That kind of created another problem here because now I could not level anything here. And the houses on the edge looked a little bit weird. So I decided to just destroy it. There was no reason to keep them. It looked kind of weird. I did not like it. On the other half, I was like, that's okay. There's no hill. Here, however, gone completely. And continuing to connect everything, making sure that everything's looking okay, everything's connected, and returning some of the things back. And started to work on the road again for my timber business. It's about the same road as we had before. And once again, just connecting everything, making sure everything's okay, everybody got access. And then my favorite part, playing around with this little railway station. It's giving me pain even to this moment. I mean, just thinking about how much work I had to actually put into this, it was not pretty, but you know what? In the end, I did manage to make it look somewhat decent, so that's alright. I have cut my losses, I've made it look okay, and couldn't be more happier about it. It did take quite a bit of playing around with it to make it look okay, and even after I did, it still looked kind of weird. So once again, I had to play around with general incline, making sure that it was okay, connecting everything, making sure that there is no dumb bridges going around where it can have actually some ground underneath. It looked kind of weird, but I was so tired at this point, and I was like, you know what? It is more than okay right now, so we're not going to be doing anything. And I was kind of hoping that I wouldn't have to be doing this little jigsaw puzzle out here, but game had some other plans for me, so there we go. Had to do that once again just to make the incline look decent. And then just moving it closer in some places, just so it doesn't look too weird to the eye. And after that, it was time to start moving the timber business to its intended spot. And then it was time to do some general cleanup, nothing too major. Just getting rid of some roads, getting rid of unnecessary districts. And then just adding the water back in there. Getting everything back into place just to make it look okay, so my city would be able to continue thriving. Unfortunately, it does take a while trying to move some of these things back into place. And here I actually did not realize at the time that that was a bus depot, so that's gonna come back and bite me in the behind, but at that point I was blissfully unaware of that. And then just continuing on working on this timber area, making sure that there is plenty of water and everything, and I still needed to connect energy out there. Otherwise, we're not going to be making any money off of it, and that would defeat the whole purpose of me having this business out there. And then that was the time to expand it a little bit more, getting some of those newer buildings out there, because I needed to create a little bit more jobs to make sure that this is actually gonna reach 5 stars. And as you can see, running out of money, I had to take a couple more loans. It seems like these problems never stop. And a couple more other buildings were added. And at this point, I ran out of money completely. And some other troubles started to get on my nerves, especially like electricity, because I had to move away that coal plant. Nobody was able to actually bring any fuel out there, and that created a whole problem because now half of my city is sitting without any electricity, and that's creating a huge problem for me because now I'm losing a bunch of money. And started moving that around everywhere, just trying to figure out what to do, what's going on. But it seemed like it took a while for these guys to reach it, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to be putting it into my other industrial area, and hopefully they're going to be able to reach that. And while I waited, I worked a little bit more in electricity out here, just making sure people actually have access once I actually get enough electricity so they would get it. And because I did not have that much electricity, I was starting to run into some problems here with water, which is not great either. So I was losing a ton of money at this point, and I started to panic a little bit. I was thinking, you gotta be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me, because I was so tired, so frustrated already with everything that was happening. But thankfully, they finally reached it. It brought some fuel, and we were back on track. But that's all I was able to do today. Unfortunately, it wasn't everything that I was planning. Didn't do anything with the zoo. I was hoping to decorate the lumber area a little bit more, but the game had other plans for me apparently. So after playing around with everything that I had to play around with just to get the game to work properly, I decided that this is enough, that this will have to do. And thank you guys for watching. It's been a pleasure. I know this is a little bit different than what I usually do, but hopefully you're gonna enjoy it nonetheless, and I'll see you next time. Scorpion out.